What is a factor tree and how can it help you with crafting? I recently made a video about how to knit without a pattern, or rather how to write a basic pattern yourself, and I used a factor tree to figure out how to space my decreases in this hat pattern. So this works for increases, decreases, knitting, crochet, really anything where you need to divide something up into smaller sections. And the trick that I used is called a factor tree. If it's been a while since you've had math class, you may not remember learning what factor trees are. So 2 important vocabulary words for you first. A factor are the numbers that you multiply together to get the product. So for example, 2 times 3 is going to give me the product of 6. So 2 and 3 are my factors, and then 6 is my product. You can also go the opposite direction, where you could take 6 and say the factors are 2 and 3. And that's what we do with a factor tree, is we figure out what those factors are. And our goal in a factor tree is to figure out not just what some of the factors are, but what all of the primary factors are. Primary numbers are numbers that are only divisible by themselves and the number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, etc. And the goal in a factor tree is to start with your whatever your product is, and then to trickle it down to figure out what those primary factors are. So let's look at a couple of examples. Let's start with the example I used last time, which was 84 stitches. And I wanted to figure out how many sections I could break it into to space out my decreases. So to make a factor tree, basically you're just going to draw like a little, like a little tree branch there. And you're going to split this into 2 of its products. Now, I usually start with the number 2 or 3 because that one's pretty easy to do in my head. Of course, you can always use a calculator. 84, I know it's divisible by 2 because it ends in a even number. So I'll divide by 2, and that's going to give me 42. So this is a prime number, so I'll circle it, and I'm going to do it again. 42 is also divisible by 2, so I'll do that again. That gives me the factors of 2 and 21. 2 is a prime number. I'll circle it and move on. 21, not divisible by 2. It is divisible by 3. The trick to figure out if something is divisible by 3 is to add the numbers together. And if the sum is divisible by 3, then the big number is divisible by 3. So 2 plus 1 is 3. This is therefore divisible by 3. And if you ever are not sure what one of the factors is, you can just kind of guess and check with a calculator. You'll get there eventually. So 21 divided by 3 is going to give me 7. Those are both prime numbers. So my primary factors for the number 84 is 2, 2, 3, and 7. Let's try with another example of 125. I know it's divisible by 5 because 125 ends in a 5, and I'm not doing that in my head. It's going to give me 25. Oh, that's why I look familiar. 5 is a primary number. 25 is divisible by 5. It's actually 5 squared. So that means 125 is actually 5 cubed. It's a perfect cube. Isn't that fun? So then what do you do with these numbers? Well, in this case, and I'm going to come back to this first example over here, my goal was to figure out how many sections I should divide my hat, you can imagine looking at a hat pattern from the top, into when I want to add my decreases. Now you can choose really any of the primary numbers or a factor of the primary numbers, and it's going to work. So I could do 2 sections. I could do 2 sections. I could do 3 sections. I could do 7 sections. I could do 2 times 2 is 4 sections. I could do 3 times 7 is 21 sections. I could do 2 times 3 is 6 sections, and that's the one that I actually originally picked. So I'm going to do 2 and 3, right? Product is 6. I've chosen my number 6, then here's my start. That's halfway. That's thirds-ish. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections, and the remaining factors there, 2 and 7, give me 14 stitches per section. So each of these sections has 14 stitches within it. So what that means is that when I'm ready to start my decrease, I will count every 14 stitches and I will place a stitch marker. Then I will either do a knit 2 together before or after my stitch marker. If you're crocheting, it's crochet 2 together before or after the stitch marker, same concept. So I'll do my decrease, or if you're increasing, whatever, same deal. I'm going to use those stitch markers to help guide where I'm going to do those things. But by doing the factor tree, I can do the math correctly. I know it's going to be evenly spaced, and I know how many stitches I have to count. So I have 84 stitches. After the first round of doing decreases, I'm going to decrease 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, right? 6 sections, so 6 stitches, which means I will then have 78 stitches after the first decrease. I might decrease every 3 or 4 rounds, just depending on how steep I want the curve of the hat. But the next time I decrease, it'll be another 6 stitches. So then I'll down to 72. And then the next time it'll be another 6 stitches. So I will be down to 66. Yeah, yes. I'll be down to 66 stitches. So I'm having 84, 78, 72, 66. And so I'll decrease until I'm happy with it, and then I'll close up the hat. Now, factor trees are a pretty basic application of math in crafting, but you can actually get very, very complicated in crafting. And if you want to know another example, you can go and check out the Pleats 102 article on my blog, where I actually developed a formula sheet for figuring out how many pleats, how to stack them, and really just kind of some fun algebra for pleats in sewing. But you can get very, very complicated very, very quickly when it comes to crafting. And I think a lot of people, especially people who are non-crafters, tend to either not know about that or tend to forget it. If you're looking for a historical example, look no further than Ada Lovelace, the development of the first computer, and Jacquard looms. And if you're curious about other applications of math and crafting, definitely hit me up and know that there are actually some really great researchers out there who are figuring out the mathematics of different kinds of crafting as well. So definitely dive down the rabbit hole. It is so interesting. It is so fun.